All right, so again, we are so fortunate to have Coach Karsten giving us a 30-minute informational session, predominantly for the keepers, but Coach Karsten will be working with players on the field as well. It's essential to make sure that we don't have a separation between our goalkeepers and then players who play on the field. We need to make sure that there is a marriage of those positions, the goalkeeper and then players who are playing on the field, and that we're all in sync. Because the goalkeeper is the one who sees the entire field and is going to be communicating things. We want to know what their training is and what they're communicating to us, or when they use certain terminology, when they ask you to do certain things on the field. So again, we're really fortunate that Coach Karsten, one, is here today, and two, has given us the equipment, has let us borrow the equipment to film all of our games. So on the VO, which is a really, really nice camera. And then he's putting them up on VO as well as Huddle as well. I just sent a few videos to Huddle so that you could get breakdowns. So you can go back and watch and think about what he's talking about in these classroom sessions, and then how it's transpired on the field and how we put it into practice so that we get better. So right now it is 3:32. So I think everyone who's on here should be on here, and I'll just check my phone if anyone's having trouble getting in. But at this point, I want your focus. Keepers, you are welcome to keep your camera on. It kind of shows me, I'm going to keep my camera on, shows me that you're in and with it. But if you'd like to put your cameras off once you've kind of checked in, I've said hi to you, then you're okay to do that. So Coach Karsten, I'm going to hand it over to you. I'm going to go on mute in case my son starts going into another concert with his ukulele and his recorder, which is what he just did. And it's all yours.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm going to modify that a tiny bit. If you're a goalkeeper, I would like you to keep your camera on. If you're a non-goalkeeper, it is entirely up to you. Another reason, so yes, the VO, recording games, you knew somewhere that was too good to be true. So, so those would be the clips that we will be picking apart this season in some of these meetings. So today is goalkeepers and kind of using the clips to frame some of the work we're going to be doing over the next month. But there are a lot of good clips, and the simple truth is, more often than not, when a goal is scored, there might be things I can work with the goalkeepers on, but more often than not, it's really, somewhere between defense, goalkeepers, somebody's out of shape, out of position, there's misunderstanding. So the hope is that we might be able to have these meetings on a fairly regular basis, and it'll be game clips, not just for goalkeepers. They will probably be more focused on the defensive end. Doesn't mean we can't expand if there's interest and people want to work on the other sides, but it happens to be the defensive third that I know most about. So anyway, just to get started, a few house rules. They're not going to apply a lot today because we probably have a little too much, but in general, I will ask you to look at video clips and analyze them in a simple way, just some quick thoughts. I'm not actually going to take any answers right away. It's just to make sure everybody gets a chance to consider the question and look at the clip. Rule number 2, I may cold call. Today, probably just goalkeepers, but even if you don't put up your hand, I may ask you to chime in. If you're nervous about that, rule number 3 is your friend. You don't have to have a complete answer. It's totally fine. Any thoughts just to get discussion or conversation started? That's plenty. And not to mention any names, but if you happen to be, I don't know, varsity goalkeeper and you happen to recognize yourself in any of these clips, just have fun with it. It is what it is. You play long enough, you're going to get scored on, you're going to make some amazing saves, everything's going to happen. It really just is what it is. So don't worry too much, but don't say I didn't warn you. So I had put this one out for the goalkeepers, and it's basically, they got a little bit of homework, which if you're a goalkeeper and you didn't read this, it was a pretty simple article from the England Football Association. But specifically, there are 2 techniques for 1v1s. So somebody's clear, you have to make a decision. Smother and spread. And we'll show clips on the next slide where you can see what that actually is. But smother is when you think you can get to that ball first. And you are essentially going to go not quite head first in, but arms in front of your head, and you're going to try to grab that ball before somebody gets a shot off. That's not always going to work. Sometimes the striker may be in a great position, they're about to take the shot, you really don't have, the distance is too far away. Then a spread might work. A spread is literally, I think it actually comes from handball originally, but you literally go wide, arms, legs out, try to get low so they don't go beneath you, and you just try to block that ball and keep it out. Anyway, smother and spread, those are your two keywords. Smother, you try to win the ball, you think you can do that. Spread, you try to go as wide as possible, and your intent is to deflect the ball out and make sure it does not go underneath you. So this is from it's a German goalkeeping site I have a membership to. They're kind of funny. I did turn off the music, which is like really melodramatic, but in very slow motion, they like to show techniques. So here's an idea of what a smother would look like. And I did not do the slow motion. This is actually there, which is fine. So the main thing to notice is the distance is short enough. The person who's going to kick the ball is not close enough to take that shot before you get there. You have a realistic chance of winning that ball. That is known as a smother. You're going to smother the ball. We will be working on this over the next month because it's actually a very applicable technique. Having looked at a lot of the goals that got scored on us or that we scored on the other teams last year, this is pretty common where a ball comes through and not quite sure what to do. You're a goalkeeper, you get to use your hands. This is one way of really taking advantage of that. Anyway, a smother. Unless somebody is really keen on seeing the slow motion again, I'm just going to go and show the spread. Oh, there we go. So a spread, you're not going to be able to get to the ball. That's kind of the biggest cue you need to be aware of. You're not going to be able to get there and try to win the ball. So what you do instead, literally try to get low enough. You do not want that ball underneath you. So there's a timing issue here. If you do it too slow or too late, the ball may already have passed underneath you, but you're going to try to get low. And if you are not a goalkeeper, you may also start recognizing this. I actually pulled clips, and some of the teams we play, some of their goalkeepers are proficient at this. They will actually come out. But either way, smother, spread, right? Very simple. Everybody got those two terms down? See. All right, just for a quick clip here. So what does it actually look like in a real game? This, I believe, is from the Women's World Cup qualification. But typically, you're going to see through ball comes through, and the keeper has a chance to get there first. This happens to be very much to the side, but straight up the center, same principle. You think you have a chance to get there first. You try to make sure they don't even get a shot off. So a smother, you literally try to get to that ball first. Everybody clear so far? All right. A spread. This one clip, for anyone who watched the Men's World Cup, is pretty famous by now because that was pretty much an amazing application of a spread by the Argentinian goalkeeper that preserved a 3-3 tie with like a minute left in overtime. He doesn't make this save. France wins the World Championship. Instead, penalty kicks. The rest is history. It was an unbelievable save and actually a fantastic spread. I mean, look at the distance. He is point blank. He knows he can't get there first and win that ball. Like trying to smother, not an option. The shot is going to get off. You cannot close that distance. What he did, that was just unbelievable. And make no mistake, he's quick too. I mean, to get down that quickly, get your foot out. But look at how wide he goes. I mean, he gets every limb out. You know, that is his best chance. Anything else, you try at that distance, this level, they're going to put that ball in the net. That was amazing. So, smother versus spread. Everybody was still with us? Yeah. All right, so this would be your first pop quiz. This is a clip from Boston Latin. You'll recognize the friendly confines of veterans from last year. And I'm going to show you one clip here, and You tell me, is that a smother or a spread? And I believe Abby's the one that's getting involved in this one. It was a good thing, I'll be honest. All right. Anyone willing to come off mute and chime in? Is that a smother or a spread? Alison, I see you nodding. You want to come off mute and take a stab?
Smother.
That is correct. And what was the key? What was the key thing that made it a good decision?
What? Which part? Sorry.
What made it it is a smother. What made it a good choice in this particular situation?
I was touched too far in front, so she had the time to get out and get on it.
Exactly. And that's kind of it. It doesn't mean if you're not comfortable with the technique, I'm not going to ask you to go out and start smothering, every shot the other team takes next week or tomorrow. I mean, if you're not comfortable with the technique, and most of us are not, but for now, at least we want to be aware of what it is, and we want to start looking for opportunities, and we'll be start practicing how to do this. It is a variation on a dive, which is why it's a little bit hard to get started on. If you're not completely comfortable diving, you are going down. If you get it wrong, you land on your elbows. All the usual rules apply. Dislocated something, not very pleasant. But absolutely correct. That would be a smother. All right, somebody not named Alison on the next one here. And keep in mind, I may ask just about anyone. All right. Sophie, the goalkeeper. Actually, we've got two goalkeepers now. It's so confusing. Sophie K.
I think it was more of a smother because even though she didn't secure it, she came out with her hands first.
Yeah. But you were touching on a very important point. If we go back here, because it is definitely a smother she's attempting, no doubt about it. She goes hands forward, still going forward into it. But you're touching on a really important point, which is it's kind of a 50-50 if she's going to win that ball. Like, I actually remember this. That's why I went back and looked for the clip today, because I remember her. She took pretty hard contact, and it's a fair ball. I mean, I forget who was of our players was in there going for the ball, but that is a loose ball. She doesn't have control. It is completely fair. That's a bit of a chance. It worked out. She kept it down. She's able to kind of recover and roll onto it. But I'll be honest, if I was advising you or Alison or Quinn or any of the other goalkeepers, I may be like, you know what? You want to also be able to play the rest of the game and tomorrow? Maybe a spread might be a better one here, because the spread, you go down and deflect the ball, you don't quite take the contact. The flip side of a spread is the ball's in play. It might be a rebound. You don't know where that goes. If you can win it, that's always the best choice. But Sophie's right. It was kind of in between. It was definitely a smaller attempt, but very last second. So that'll be part of the quote unquote decision making we'll be working on, trying to make sure that you guys do these with confidence. But we're not playing for the World Cup. Don't go injure yourself, trying to win every ball that's in there, because there is a chance. There is for anything. If you're getting the ball, you might. Anyway, very last one here. This will be Weston at Very Nice. Anyone need to see that clip again, or if I think I'm going to call in Quinn, since he just came on video and would be the other. This is an interesting one. But Quinn, I am going to cold call you, since you are Varsity keeper now. Would you call this a smother or a spread? You might be on mute now, I think. Your sound might be turned off. You're not on mute, but I can't hear you. All right. Anybody else want to chime in?
If Quinn's audio is not working, she can text me her answer and I can verbalize it. Quinn, if you want to text me your answer real quick, I can quickly look at it. So he was asking in this, this was Weston at Brandeis. So this was last year.
While we let Quinn chime in, I do want to ask anyone watching this, is there anything unusual if you're watching where it froze the frame right now? Does anything stand out? If you have an answer or a suggestion, feel free to come off mute. But
she's outside the box when she came out.
He is.
We all thought it was a handball that when she came out.
That is one hit. I thought at the time, I'll be honest, that she did this on purpose. I thought that is one hell of a move because if she takes that ball on the arm or shoulder, that should be an automatic red card. She's clearly taking away a goal scoring chance and she's outside the box. Having watched it today, I'm guessing she just lost track because she's I'm pretty sure I know precisely what she tried to do, but she's clearly off balance going into it. Whether you smother or spread, you should be pretty much executing that as the shot is taken. In this case, she's still, full speed forward, basically ramming into, I can't quite tell which of our players it was. But yeah, absolutely. It's just outside the box. Again, it worked out. I mean, the thing I'll play, I was surprised. I'm like, wow, she just went out. But yeah, she takes that ball somewhere else. I believe you're having another goalkeeper come in for the rest of the game. So, anyway.
Coach Karsten, Quinn said she's not sure why her audio won't work, but she said the goalkeeper came out for a smother, but then made this decision to go into a spread. So she had it.
Yeah, it definitely looks like a smother that she is thinking. And mostly what it's anybody's guess. She could also just be that her technique is not clean enough where, maybe she's quite in between. But if you look at it, it looks like she starts leaning back and she's clearly kind of getting her arms up. I think she could also just be honestly protecting her head as much as everything else. But I would say that's definitely an attempt to spread. Except she pretty much is still trying to spread as she runs into player and ball. So, but yes. All right. So that kind of brings up the question you should be wondering, what exactly is the rule? Keep in mind, this is 1v1. That means no defender. If there is a defender nearby who can push the ball wide, you should probably not be coming out. You should probably be staying in defending your goal because until that defender is beaten, you are the cover. You are the one not just defending the goal, but also covering in case that player gets beat. If you come out next to them, single pass, take out two players, you're one of them, they have a wide open goal. But what I like about this one is everybody out there has an opinion about whether you should, block or spread or smother. Traditionalists love a smother because you win the ball, there's no rebound, and that's great, but you can't always win it. So spreading and blocking in slightly different variations, valuable. What I love about this one is this guy basically collected data from the Premier League for 3 years. So this is not opinion. This is just statistics. Basically, it says, well, if we look at every single 1v1 with no defender involved in the Premier League for 3 years, like he says, I can tell you exactly what was the best choice statistically. So if you look at the size of the circle, you will notice that you should wait until they get close enough. Basically, if you go out too early, especially at that kind of level, they're just going to chip you. They're going to play around you one way or another. So there's definitely something about patience. Even if it's a one-on-one where they're coming, down half a field, there's nobody catching up. If you go out too early, they're just going to chip you or play around you. So that's part of the take-home message. The other one is it's Premier League, totally different level, the professionals. But the same rules apply to us. it's just probably a different size circle. Like, we face players that are probably going to miss a much higher percentage of the shots. It's a little more forgiving. Speed may not be the same. We differ as goalkeepers. So, but the general principle applies. If it's coming up straight in the middle and you have to do something, spreading is a good option. You go low, you go wide, you try to keep it out. At the end of the day, smothering is not listed because that is more a choice when you see it. That becomes, is it possible? Of course, hey, smother, win the ball, eliminate any shot. When it's not, this is about the time when you need to actually come out. So this would be a very recent game. That would be Quinn. So I would like all of you to watch this clip. And basically, this one is, there are some things that I think are somewhat clear on what I would recommend to Quinn, but it's not all. It's not cut and dry. So try and watch the clip. And some thoughts. Should Quinn come out? Should she go? We can all see in the video what she did. If she had come out, if she does come out, should she smother? Should she spread? Should she do something else? But try and watch the clip and see what you think. What's your advice? We have the luxury of watching this clip. Keep in mind, Quinn and the rest of the defense had like a split second. By the time the ball arrives at a certain point, she has to decide in that instant, what does she do? We get to sit here and watch in the slow motion. It's a little easier, but run it one more time, and then we'll open the floor. All right, let me move it back to a frame that shows about the moment the ball is coming off the foot of the striker. All right. Anyone, goalkeeper or otherwise, who want to offer any thoughts? Remember, you don't have to have a complete answer. I'll absolutely take thoughts just to get a conversation going. Anyone want to come off mute? A goalkeeper, perhaps?
At that point, the ball's too close to the forward's foot, so I'd say spread, but get a better angle in the net, like know where you are in the box.
Yep, that sounds absolutely correct. So a couple of things. One way or another, you'll notice Quinn is still moving as the shot is taken, and still moving a couple of seconds after it's taken. So no matter what your choice of technique is, whether you decide to smother or spread. And again, keep in mind, Quinn may or may not be, I have seen her smother in one of our practice games. I don't believe I've seen any of our players spread. So keep in mind, I'm asking what could we have done? But in this situation, it may not be a tool in their repertoire. So, but with the gift of hindsight, this is something we can work on. One thing to notice, Quinn is still moving when the shot is taken. When that shot is taken, you should be set and going, ideally executing whatever you intend to do. Because she's moving forward at full speed, that's her entire momentum. She really has no chance to go sideways at all. So whatever the choice may have been, if you're still moving when the shot's taken, you really don't have many options. Your full momentum, by the time you come to a stop and try to go wide or anything, really, the ball's already past you. I also want to say, actually, I think Quinn's timing was really good, and when she did come out, if you think about it, we go back here, the defender is keeping up until about here, doesn't clearly get beat. So at this point, we realize this is a one-on-one. We look here. I forget, it might be Danielle, but like this defender really has no chance of making it back. There's another play in between. She would have to choose anyway. Does he leave this player wide open? But effectively, nobody's going to be able to block this player. So this is now, if suddenly is a one-on-one. Mind you, this happened. This development happened in the last split second as that attacker got around our defender, and now it's suddenly a one-on-one. When until then, you might have thought, it's going to stay wide, protect the goal, look the crosses, cutbacks. But I think Quinn's timing is actually really good, because at this point, you come out as the ball is crossing in. That is actually pretty much the right timing. I have absolutely no problems with that. I think you timed it really well. So what we want to work on is, getting not just Quinn, but all our keepers comfortable with, especially these two. Two techniques, we do it enough. Hopefully it becomes something where you read the cue, the distance, the speed, and the decision, doesn't even have to pass through consciously your head. You do it. It might take a little more than a few weeks, but that's okay. We got time. But anyway, these are some of the things we can look at. With more time, which we don't, I want to show one last clip before we wrap up. There's also a lot we can look at here in terms of defense. Like this is a quick transition. Transitions are always interesting because there's very little time to react. And typically those are the weakest moment for any team because you're disorganized. You'll have your defense maybe upfield. If your wingback had gone up, may not be back. Ask Liverpool why they suddenly had a certain fullback start being a midfield because it was a little too costly when he couldn't make it back. But those are things we can look at and work on too. For now, I did find a clip of Alison, who will be the star of this one. And the same thing, quick clip. This would be, I believe, the Melrose, the friendly game we had. And this one is actually, just to get you, this is one of those where there are definitely things where we as a team didn't help each other. If you notice the defense, and again, this is a test game. Like half these players have probably never played together. We put them out there for a game, trying to coordinate between players. That's a really, that's a hard ask. Like, how do we get a defense the first game to actually play together and read each other? So it kind of fell apart a little bit. Doesn't mean there aren't things we could advise Alison to do and things we can work on. But like most of these, defense plays as well as they can. This chance may not appear. It doesn't really matter. It did. So that's what we deal with. So. All right. Actually, Alison, I'm going to ask you first, since I don't know if you remember this one or if watching the video brings back memories, but any take on what you saw when you were the through ball? I mean, I'll be honest, it's a great through ball. It really took advantage of the very unfortunate space we left. It all starts because we have one defender further ahead, creates a huge space right in front of our defender where one of their attackers could go straight in. That's a massive space where you can't be offside. And it was a great through ball. I don't know, the pace of the ball, it landed exactly where there was not an obvious moment like to go for it. But Alison, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I think because like it was a good ball and it wasn't in the box yet, so it was hard to decide like what to do. I remember hesitating a lot on that one because it was at her feet, but it was like I don't know how to explain it. So I tried to come out and then it just like she kind of chipped me, I think, because I got low and then she just went over. I didn't get to it enough. if I remember correctly. Like from what I can see and what I remember, like that's what it looks like.
I think she goes around, but yeah, you're actually starting to come to a stop. So in that respect, it's just a tiny bit early, but you actually do start stopping, which at this point, when she's about to take the shot, is a good decision. You are a split second too late, so you are still moving enough, which is why good testament to it's nearly impossible to change direction. You are trying to go wide, but your momentum hasn't quite stopped. You're not quite balanced. You're not quite set. At that point, it's a really tough one. And I mean, it is a great through ball. And there was massive space left, and they absolutely took it. Maybe the biggest option, and again, this is a matter of us, which is why we're doing a lot of small sided games with especially defense, midfielders, and then overload, so we can get a lot of chances on goal with a half field. Because the more we can recreate these, so you get used to having to make these quick reads, make a quick decision. We can look at them after every week, we can get them recorded. I think the more we can kind of get you guys comfortable, not just with the technique, but also recognizing, what you can do. Ideally, if you had read, the one-on-one developing, your biggest chance might have been to come up a little bit sooner. But this is, Quinn had very little time, and yet Quinn had, somebody running the length of the penalty area, and you had even less time than that. So unless you are, which you're not, I know you're not a professional college or goalkeeper yet, if one makes that read, that might be the biggest chance you ever had. That's an incredibly hard read to make in a split second, because you really have to recognize that this ball is, and it was perfectly weighted. I mean, that's the other thing. Like, it was just a really good pass. It didn't go too far. It didn't, she ran right into it without that extra speed where you would have gone in. So anyway, that would be the end of what I put down. And I managed to go 3 minutes over, so sorry about that. I'm Danish. I'm used to being on time and ending on time. So for the goalkeepers, this will be part of it. We will be working on those two techniques. And what I like about the spread is you don't have to be able to be a gymnast and doing splits. It's a much easier one to get started on. Depending on your flexibility, you may just not go as wide. We'll work that into practice. Maybe talk to Courtney a little bit about physical work to get everybody a little bit more limber. That might include me too. I'm getting too old for this stuff. But it's an easy one to get started on. You just don't go down as far. Especially for our new goalkeepers, it might be a little bit tougher with the Smother. There's a confidence thing. Are you comfortable diving? Are you comfortable going, head, arms in front of your head first in? But also just a basic diving shape, so you don't injure yourself landing on the wrong body part. But anyway, that's what I wanted to share for this time. For everybody else who's not a goalkeeper, if you look at the last two clips, that will basically be it. But I have fancy analysis software that can kind of slow down, show defensive shapes, and even track people as they're moving. I think we can have some really fun clips. It doesn't even have to be Zoom meetings. There might be a way we share, but where we can actually look at also a good thing, because obviously there are a lot of chances they did not score on. Sometimes defense is actually impeccable. Like, you guys did a great job. A lot of times maybe the goalkeeper bails it out. Who knows? But those are things we'd like to look at over the season and work on. So that's it for me. Coach Lindstrom, you want to take it home?
Sure thing. Coach Karsten, thank you so much. Thank you for breaking things down and letting us use your equipment, and then putting all the time and effort that you do into the breakdowns and the informational sessions. So also, thank you to the goalkeepers. I think it's important for everyone else, including me, just to be reminded at how much extra work goes into being a goalkeeper, extra mental work, extra physical work, extra just like extra knowledge that you need to know. Like, you need to know in a split second when to spread, right? Or when to smother. And I just think that, like, that mental piece, it's important for the rest of us just to recognize and get a reminder, like, you have a lot of pressure on your shoulders. And I recognize that every day, but in situations like this, I recognize it, I think, like tenfold. So I appreciate you goalkeepers and all the extra work that you put in behind the scenes. That's why I wanted to everyone on the Zoom today, just to show everyone a little clip of just a portion of the behind the scenes work that you do to get ready for the games that we play when you are the person, in the net, between the posts, on the goal line, ready to stop and try to win these games defensively. So I appreciate you, Coach Karsten, and all of the work that you do with the goalkeepers, and I appreciate you, goalkeepers. And we see you, we recognize you, and we recognize the work that you do off the field. So keep it up. Thank you. That's all from me. So I'm gonna be able to take my daughter to her first gymnastics class. You had mentioned you don't have to be a gymnast, but tonight she has to be a gymnast. So she's got to get into her leotard. I wasn't gonna be able to take her, but now I can, which is awesome. So that's what we're off to. I hope everybody stays cool, keep hydrating, and the game is still on for 4 o'clock at Vets, but if there's any change in location or if there's any change in time, I will alert you. Those of you who are new, we typically start our home game pregame just after 3 o'clock, just after 1 hour before the game. So please arrive at 3 and we'll be starting at about 3:10. And yeah, I'm excited. We're gonna have our home opener against Lowell tomorrow. All right. Thank you, Coach. Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your night.
Bye, Coach. Thank you, Coach Karsten.
Bye, KK. Bye, Ava.
Bye. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you, if not tomorrow, then next week.
Bye, Sophie. Bye, Quinn. Bye, Sophie.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.